So now moving on to our next panel discussion, which is on client side. The client imperative, advising clients on the evolving investment opportunities and challenges and use of technology. We have on the panel with us Mr. Alok Shiopurkar, Executive Vice President and Head HR, HDFC Mutual Fund. We have Mr. Ashish Shankar, Head Investment Advisory, Motilal Oswal Private Wealth Management. Ms. Jalpa Vyas, Senior Vice President, Head IFAN. Mr. Pankaj Matpal, MD, Optima Money Managers Private Limited. Thank you all. Mr. Alok Shiopurkar would be the moderator for this panel. Thank you.
Friends, first of all, now I am standing between you and your departure Saturday evening. I am sure a lot of plans would be there. But you know, it is the client finally who stands between your financial objectives and organization's goal. And it is good to see finally client got what it deserves, the center stage. So what I'm trying to do is, this is nothing to do with my organization. The views I will express are my personal view as a client which I have, experienced. Some of the new developments which are happening over the past 5, 6 years, 7 years, and which are likely to change the entire canvas of Indian financial market, and that is the online wealth management or online financial services being offered. We are also going to experience a situation where cash transactions are going to reduce drastically. So we are increasingly experiencing that cash money deployment is going to be an issue. Also, some governments in Scandinavian countries are planning to remove the entire currency itself, and there will be no currency. If we recall, our parents used to go to bank, and sometimes they even used to go and see if bank is there. And look at us, we are hardly visiting our branch. So that poses a new challenge to the advisors, planners, that how do we engage our clients? How do we help them to create the wealth? Second point is that wealth has no meaning for a nation if we as a nation don't grow. The wealth managers are not just for helping creation of wealth only for wealthier people. The noble objective is how do we also help for the financial inclusion. So I have very esteemed panelists today here. I would like to talk to you people, and through this panel we'll all try and see what can we do to the client, because we say customer is the king, client is the king. We exist because it exists. Madam, what is your experience? What is that you would like to share with young wealth managers from the client point of view?
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. A very good evening to everybody. Finally, the client imperative, as Sir said. I'll start from a small saying for wealth managers. It's from Charles Darwin. It says, it's not the most strongest or the most intelligent who survives, but the one who is the most responsive to change who survives. So I guess for wealth managers, considering today's topic, with evolving strategies and evolving investment opportunities and advance in technology, wealth managers or financial advisors who will be responsive to these changes are the ones who will survive. And coming back to what the client needs, as a client, I'll be the devil's advocate here. As a client, what I need a product which is suitable to me as per my risk profile and fulfills my basic 3 needs. It should be easy to understand, easy to transact, easy to invest. I guess if these 3 needs are fulfilled by a wealth manager in terms of product suitability, then I think a lot of work is done. So as the opportunities are evolving, as it is becoming more and more complex, we can bring about inclusion only if we fulfill these 3 needs. Are we presenting, are we giving products which are easy to understand, which are easy to access, and which we can easily transact? Then I guess that will help in bringing about this change.
Thank you. Ashuji, my question to you is that today one of the difficult situation clients are facing is the serious frauds. Okay, either they are done by the organizations or the people on their behalf or the wealth manager or anybody. I'm not trying to put a title to that, but at the end of the day, it is the client who is at receiving end. So would you like to throw some light on it from a client point of view?
Yeah, no, if, I were a client and if I see the happenings over the last 5 years, I would really be terrified to put money in the financial markets. I mean, we've seen the worst ever crisis globally. We've seen one of the oldest investment banks disappearing. And, over the last 2 years, if I open the newspaper, every alternate day, what I read about is only fraud. So obviously, caveat emptor is the name of the game today. But I think this also presents a big opportunity for financial planners, especially the ones who are independent, because there are clients who are looking for people whom they can trust and help them manage their money. So I see a big opportunity in this space as well, wherein people who are independent and can give unbiased advice to clients and be consistent. I think this practice will grow over a period of time. Also with organizations, what happens is that I think over a period of time, even banks as well as other institutions have evolved. Today, no longer is a wealth manager allowed to be completely independent. Today, with a relationship manager, there are normally multiple people attached, so that the client is talking to the organization, not just to the individual. And I think as a client, you need to be able to do those checks before you appoint a wealth manager. I mean, for example, if a new wealth manager comes to me, I'd spend a lot of time interviewing him and understanding what are the organizational practices, rather than asking him, which is the product which is going to give me the best return. So I think understanding what are the organizational philosophy, the approach, and the ecosystem of that organization, which is nothing but the values, is extremely important before you start dealing with that organization or individual. But like I said, I think the opportunity is very large, because I see a lot of independent financial planners here. As the complexity grows and the client is looking for a trusted advisor, the opportunity for people in this room is pretty large.
Thank you, Ashish. Pankaj bhai, I have a question for you. You have been a successful financial planner. See, India is going through a very transition period right now. One side, we are looking forward for a lot of wealth creation, and a lot of wealth surveys are telling that Asia and especially India will be one of the prosperous countries in the globe. And second side is a lot of people are now getting retired, though government is trying to extend the retirement every 2 years. But a lot of public sector employees are getting retired. They are not technology savvy. And I came across one of these retired employee at a general manager level from a Rashtriya Chemical Fertilizer. He got something around 40 lakhs. And his ID and password he has given to his servant son, who is 17-year-old. Now he is operating his account on his behalf, because this gentleman is 60-year plus. He has no technology idea. So what is your experience, and what would you like to advise?
As such experience is concerned, I have not come across any such case where the person has given his password to third party and expecting that or believing to the person to that extent that he will not do anything. But as far as you said, that person is not techno savvy and he has shared password, so that is totally wrong. That in any case, whether a person is young, old, whether somebody has very trustworthy servant and he says that I'll hand over my ATM card to him and he'll withdraw money on my behalf, these things are wrong basically. So people should understand their rights, their limitations, and any moments you may have some faith in your people, but end of the day when money is involved, there are chances of fraud. So considering that fact, it's not necessary that you use technology. I understand that technology is very important because it saves time or increase productivity. At the same time, one should not be too much dependent on the technology. So if you are giving example of 60-year-old person for either he should appoint somebody whom you mistrust, and there should be different way for this or some agreement kind of thing in such cases, in different cases. But here, through the manual mode, he can do transaction rather than the online transactions. So here we are talking about managing wealth for retirement. So there are so many products available, and definitely at any age, if people say, no, he's old, he does not need to manage asset allocation, for him the products which are small saving schemes, those are the best scheme which usually people do. But because now considering longer life expectancy, it is important that you have to beat inflation, and the whatever you have accumulated, that should last longer. For this, it becomes very important that people should maintain asset allocation at every point of time. But as far as this frauds are concerned, so it is more important that you should always check when you're signing any document, when even for opening your Demat account, people come and ask you sign at many places. And moreover, when you apply for loan, that time also blindly people sign at 30, 40 pages. So it is important to understand that what you're signing, once you read those documents and you sign it, the chances are less that you'll be victim of that fraud. So that is the only solution. But most important that whatever you do, you should know in taking informed decision can only save you.
Any view you have, Jalpa? You like?
Yeah, in fact, I'd like to add upon when you mentioned that, there's a senior citizen who has funds, and I think these are very common example. I'll give my example of my father-in-law, whom I could relate to. He's retired, and of course, all his investments were all paper-based, and many, many years back, 15, 20 years back, he's done. And now, of course, he's retired. So suddenly, it's very difficult if he has to really consolidate and arrive at, where things are and what are. So that's where I think technology can be an enabler, where I've helped him consolidate everything in a single platform, in a single kind of page. And I'm happy that he's glad that at any point of time, he can get what are the, what's the value as of now, and where can he write to. And if there's a single advisor who gives a single kind of window for all his equity, mutual fund, insurance kind of activities, I think it helps, irrespective of the age. If he just knows that it's in one place and it can be taken at any point of time, and he can understand it in a simple manner, I think technology can act as an enabler irrespective of the age as well.
Pankajji, I have a question. I'm trying to represent the plight of the client, who goes every day the difficult experiences. One observation which has come across through various interactions is whenever wealth manager goes across, or a relationship manager goes across, or a financial advisor goes across, they will try and sell insurances, they will try and sell ULIP linked, and so on and so forth. And most of the time, I interact people and they generally would not have an accident insurance cover. And today's high-tech automated world, where chances of you surviving through accident are significantly higher than you are actually losing your life. And since you are alive, you will not get the insurance benefit. But most of the people, and we can do survey right away here in this room, will not have an accident insurance policy. So any light?
Exactly, I fully agree with you, Mr. Alok, because people buy life insurance, and that also considering that it is a saving instrument. But as far as the key objective of insurance is covered, that is not taken care. So when it comes to accident insurance policies, because the premium is very, very low. So first thing that why people buy here, because now we are representing client side, that's why this question is coming here, though all are wealth managers and they know what is importance of these all things. See, if you talk about the insurance as a protection and investment, we have so many instruments. But why the insurance policies are sold? The simple reason because of high commission available on these policies. So here, it's not bought, rather these policies are sold. So when insurance is sold because of high commission available on these products, so people sell life insurance, people talk about the health insurance, but don't talk about accident insurance policies because premium is very low. So simply 50 paisa to 1 rupee 50 paisa per thousand sum assured premium comes. So if somebody buys a policy for 10 lakh rupee also, he has to pay 1,500 per annum. So that agent thinks that what I'm getting out of this, so why I should push it. Now the only solution, either the improvement in financial literacy so that people start asking for this. Today, like people buy PP their own, they ask for the PPF, they want to open account, whether there is commission to now agent or no, but still they buy it. So similarly, if people understand importance of different insurance products or different investment products, then only the solution, then only people can buy such kind of products. Otherwise, agents will not sell it, except only few who really believe that what is good for their client, that is only good for them, who believe that if they serve their client well, then only they can maintain relationship for a long time, and they believe in client-centric approach. But otherwise, most of cases where people want to make money, and with that objective where more than the professionalism, it is business for them, it is hardly possible that people will sell these accident insurance policy. But only thing is that client investor education, educating your client so that they understand importance, whether you get brokerage on that or no, but if your client is satisfied, then definitely he will remain with you for a long time, and that is the whole idea of this wealth management or financial planning practice.
Thank you. Ashishji, what is your experience when a client sees, frequently changing the relationship managers or advisors, and a lot of movement, and every time he has or she has to tell the same story, again revisit the game, entire game plan or the entire financial plan. So any thought process you have on this, how organizations are dealing with this?
Yeah, so obviously if your relationship manager is changing every 6 months or a year, it's quite disturbing for a client, right? Because the client as well as the relationship manager invests in that relationship, and that memory is very difficult to replicate. But looking at the pace of the financial markets and the industry, we've seen over the last decade or so that it is inevitable. So what you have to do is you have to work around it and put systems and controls in place which allows you to deliver that service to the client seamlessly. So, we just spoke about technology from a client perspective, but technology, even from a, relationship manager perspective, your CRM tools that you have inside the organization play a very, very important role in recording the client memory. So, whether it is a portfolio review that the relationship manager is conducting, whether it is the, meetings, the regular meetings to represent a new product, all this memory can be recorded in the CRM system. And in case the relationship manager changes, then the next relationship manager should definitely go through that memory within the system, so that when he approaches the client is not repeating, all the messages again. So I think technology can play a very, very important role. And like I said, most organizations, I mentioned it in the fraud perspective as well. Most organizations are ring fencing the client, by putting multiple people in front of the client. So it's not necessarily only the relationship manager. There is an investment advisor who goes, and then there are product specialists who also go and interact with clients. And there are seniors who also meet these clients. So, if a relationship manager moves, the memory is not erased, and the client feels as comfortable moving on to the next relationship manager because, he's comfortable with the institution. So two things. One is technology, which can play a very important role in making the client comfortable through these changes. Second, most important is also ring fencing the relationship by having multiple people, engaged with the client.
Pankaj, you would like to say something?
See, so nothing to do with this question, but when we talk about a successful financial planning or wealth management, see, usually we have seen that we always try to do our best to create wealth. But sometimes that biases of customer, that put some restriction on the wealth creation, because people buy, if I take example of equity, when markets are up, then they enter, and when market comes down, they redeem. So as behavioral finance is very, very important, because to understand client behavior, we always try to do best in the interest of client, but they don't follow that advice if that happens, so the most important thing is that to include behavioral finance in standard finance. So alone by advising what we are thinking, if we say that client is not following that, and then ultimately blame comes on the financial planner or wealth manager only that goals are not being achieved. So that is why it is very important to include behavioral finance aspect in wealth management planning for the successful practice.
I will now conclude this discussion with one small experience which I had. The other day I called up a telephone number, mobile number, which was given on a Baskin Robbins ice cream organization's person whom you can call and it can be delivered at home. And I called up and this gentleman told me, sir, I have left the organization 3 months back, but I can give you another number where you can order the ice cream and it will be delivered at home. And it was such a wonderful experience because you never expected a kind of person who does the home delivery to give this response. And Baskin Robbins, while it's a very tasty ice cream while one side, but you would not have expected that probably this is the kind of culture or experience they would offer to the customer. So this is something which is very touchy and I was really excited, so I thought I'll share with you. And message to young wealth manager is that दास्ताने वफा बस इतनी सी है उसकी खातिर उसको ही छोड़ दिया. Don't remove your focus from your customer or your clients. Keep him in focus and you will certainly create wealth and your organization will create wealth. Any questions? I am more than happy to facilitate.
Any question from our audience? So, sir, the pattern goes on. You will throw the question and they'll answer.
Okay. As you all know that to calculate capital gain, whether non-equity mutual fund or your other capital asset, except only equity, so there is index cost. So what is cost inflation index for financial year 2014-15? No, sir. Wrong. For 14-15. Anybody? What is CII for financial year 14-15? No idea? Because everybody says about that index benefit, and in long term, when you calculate capital gain, you have to apply that cost inflation index, which started in 81-82 with 100 points, and now for financial year 14-15.
Hello.
So when he's saying 924, I said no. So for this, it is 1024.
1024, okay.
So now, shall I ask another question?
Yeah, maybe you can pass and let's see the next question.
Answer I gave 1024. Okay, fine. So I could not hear, so I'll agree.
So who is the one who gave the answer?
Who was standing there? Okay, fine.
So may I please request you to be on the stage?
Ashish, you can
I'll ask a question. Over the last decade, we've arguably had, the worst 5-6 years before this government came to power. We've seen the subprime crisis. We've seen a, horrible government. What has been the equity returns, CAGR, over the last 10 years? 11.2. Okay, that's one answer. Any other guesses? 17%. I heard 17%. So it's well over 17%. It's about 17.7%. This is without dividends. If you add the dividends, it will go to closer to 19. So the point I'm trying to make is, in spite of the worst possible decade where we've seen so many calamities, equities has still been the best performing asset class. So my simple message is continue to have faith in equities and you will create wealth.
So we had two answers, sir, 17 and 18.5. Which is the closest one, 17 or 18.5? 18.5, okay. All right. Ma'am.
At the end of the day, I guess I'll just ask a very simpler question. So much into returns. Talking about technology and how wealth managers need to really be responsive to internet and technology and to new changes that are happening. Anybody can guess how many internet users are there in India in let's say June, July, last few months? how many internet users are there in India? Roundabout, I think you're close enough to 40 million.
So that's the answer?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Round-
So can I have,
Yours back.
people on the stage who've given the answers, 18.5, 24, and then one more answer from there. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you, both of you. And one more, sir, your question?
I had no question. I asked them so many questions, so one of them can give me.
All right, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you once again to our esteemed panelists. Thank you so much. So now we are running to the close of session. I would once